Hi, I'm Pooja Dubey. I'm a writer, and today I'm going to tell you a story. This story is very close to my heart because it is my story. You can say it's kind of a story about how I became a writer. Um, it was 2012, I think around August. I was sitting by the poolside in my building. I was looking at the pool. It was at night, 1 a.m. and I was very sad, depressed. While I looked at that pool, I realized that it was so silent at night. There was nobody there. And just like that pool was so silent, so was my life. I had been through a hell lot of things in past few months. I lost my business. I left my job. I lost my love. I lost the trust of my family, my mother, my sisters. I lost friends. I had nothing to live for. Just 1 or 2 months back, my husband had given me a choice. Either I should continue with my business or I should choose him. I chose him. Obviously, I loved him. And the result was I lost my business. I lost my friends. Lost a lot of money from my mom, my sisters, people who trusted me. I was all time low. I had no friends, no one to actually look up to. I wondered, what if there was someone like a godmother or godfather who could just pull me out of this? I didn't want to live. I was lost. The only thing that still kept me going was my stories. I used to write stories on a blog. So I kept there sitting. I was wondering, maybe some moment my husband would realize that I'm not home and I'm sad, and he'll come down, he'll take me. But he didn't. I started crying really hard. And after a while, I looked up and I realized there was a guy looking at me from, I think, around 5th floor. And he did not react. At that point of time, I wasn't sure if he was not reacting because it was dark and he was not able to see my tears, or he was not reacting because he didn't care. He didn't care. So I stopped crying. After a while, watchman came and he said, "Madam, why are you sitting here for so late? Go home. This is not the time to sit here." I could see that maybe he can also see that I was in a crybaby mood, and still he had the guts to tell me, "Go to hell." Maybe he didn't see either, but I was still feeling that the guy upstairs was seeing me, and this watchman was also seeing me cry, and my husband also knew I was crying, and nobody cared. Why was I living when nobody cared about me? So I got up, went back home. My husband was sitting with his laptop. He was playing some game on that. I watched him for a while. He smiled. He didn't look at me, but he only smiled. And that smile was actually not the happiness smile that I came back. It was a torturous smile. It was the smile of a victory that gave a bold statement to me that, you know what, you don't have a place to go. You don't have a choice but to put up with me. I said, okay, fine. If that is how I have to live, that is how I have to live. I cried all night. I didn't sleep at all. Morning, I got up, did my regular things, gave him tea, did his tiffin, he went to office, and then I sat. I went to the pool again and I started thinking again. And then I thought, maybe I I should write stories. And I started writing one. I got a laptop downstairs and I sat by the pool and I started writing the story. My story was not so sad. In my stories, people always found a way out of their troubles. They always had someone to look up to, someone to love. There was hope, always, for the protagonist. So, I was obviously putting myself into the shoes of my character who was a girl in her 30s, and she was also going through trouble of, husband trouble. So I kept writing and writing and writing. All I would do whole day was write stories. That's how I made myself busy. One day, when I was still writing the story, one of my friends called me, and he was not a very close friend at that time. At that time, we had hardly met for once or twice, and he said, "How are you doing? You remember we met a couple of times?" I said, "Yeah, I remember. How are you doing?" I behaved normal, and we talked, and then after a while we talked something on writing. He asked me, and he randomly said, "Why don't you try to do some content writing?" I said, "Content writing?" "Yeah." "What is that?" I asked him. He explained me, and he said, "Why don't we meet once, and then I can explain you everything, and maybe then you can do something about it?" I said, "Okay." The next day I met him, and he explained me things about content writing. I don't exactly remember how that meeting went. I was still lost even the next day, the day after that. I was lost for a long while. But then I tried to do everything that he had said, but I didn't get any project. I tried to put bids on things like Elance or Fiverr, and I didn't get even a single project. Once one guy said, "Okay, I'm going to okay, you're a fresher, but I understand. At least give me a few samples." I gave him links to the blogs that I used to write. He said, "I don't want these samples. These are the samples that you've written for yourself. I need something that is published by your client." Oh, fish. I don't have a client, I realized. It just didn't work. What do I do now? I was hopeless again, and I went back to writing stories. My friend, now he's one of my very close friends, he called me again after a few days, and I told him his idea was stupid and it didn't work for me. So he said, "Okay, why don't you try writing for me? That way you will get at least a portfolio. I won't be able to give you much. I can give you just 10 paisa per word, but it will be a good start for you, some experience. You'll get at least one client." That was a favor he was extending. I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And when I put the phone down, I realized that's exactly what I need. I just need a portfolio. I just need to show the world that I did some work for others. And nobody is going to ask me if I earned from that or not. Which means if I work for free for a while for a few people, I get my portfolio ready. So I messaged 100 people on LinkedIn, and I told him that I'm going to give you free services for 1 month, and I'm going to write blogs for you. You just have to give me a permission to take the name of your company as my client. And of course, free stuff, they agreed. I got my portfolio, and meanwhile I was also working with this guy. Then I found one requirement on Facebook, and that guy had mentioned very clearly that he wanted someone with 2 years of experience and this and that. He wanted someone to write something like a book column or something he had mentioned. And I was very excited. Okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna meet him, and maybe I get a project. But I was truly nervous at that time. So I called my friend and he said, I do have some portfolio, but this is all fake portfolio. Nobody has ever paid me, and you are paying me like 10 paisa per word. Should I increase it a bit when I go to this client? He said, "Are you stupid? I am doing you like, I'm doing this for our friendship. You don't need to tell him that you're not earning or you don't have paid clients. How does he know that? You give him a good rate, whatever you want. So I asked him, what rate should I tell him? How can I tell you? You think about it, you find out, you ask him, you get the project. Okay, chalo, now I have to go, so I have some important meeting to attend. And he put down the call. And I wondered, yeah, actually he's right. I don't need to tell this new guy that I am nowhere and I'm a struggler and I have no real experience. So I decided to make up a story. I was not a liar kind of person. I'm still not, and I hated to lie. So I didn't want to lie. But then I thought, maybe this time, one time, maybe I get a project. I'll not tell him what my real condition is. I went to meet him. It was at Malad or Goregaon, I guess, between Malad and Goregaon. And there he had a huge office with around 50 people working there. And I went to his office. He invited me, said tea or coffee. Tea he gave me. And then he asked me. I actually told him a story, my story, but not the real one. In this story, I wasn't a struggler. I had 5 clients, and they were from 4 different countries. And I had a pretty good portfolio. I'd written a lot. And then I was feeling guilty. What am I doing? Why am I telling him a really fake story? Is he buying it? Or what if he understands that I'm all but a lie, and what if he's gonna like throw me out? And he was really good looking, and I did want to be in the bad note with a good looking guy, and he was also polite, something which I wasn't used to because my husband was very rude kinds of. So this was a very nice guy, and he actually bought my story, and he said, okay, when can we start, and how much rate do you want? And I had no idea what to tell him. I said 50 paisa per word. I was wondering, if I tell him 50 paisa, maybe he'll negotiate. At least he'll give me more than the 10 paisa thing, at least 20 or 30 paisa. He said, fine, 50 paisa is good with me. I was like, what? Really? Yeah, in fact, I suggest you choose a few books. I have lots of books in my office. He took me to his another cabin where there was a small closet of books, and he said, you can choose 3-4 books from here, whichever you like, and then you can start writing the columns. I said, really? I mean, like, you're really giving me project? I didn't say it to him, but I was wondering, I mean, like, really? Did I really get the project? He gave me the books, and he said that he's going to transfer me money, some cash amount, as soon as I submit him the first book column, and after that he's going to pay me after, in every week. I said, wow, that's wonderful. I said, thank you, Hitam, and I moved out. While I was walking downstairs, I was smiling. There was a big smile on my face. It was like, my life is going to change. This was my first real client, and how I got it? By telling him a story. I got it, and I was so happy. People were looking at me, literally looking at me. Why is this guy smiling like crazy? I mean, what's wrong with people? Even when you cry, people look at you. And even when you smile, they look at you. When you cry, they look at you, but they don't react. But when you smile, they look at you and they react like this. I didn't care. On face, I was smiling, but inside my head, I was actually dancing. So after that, my life changed, and I actually became a writer within a few months. I increased my portfolio. Literally this time, I got 4 clients. I even hired a few people. But you know what? Life was a habit of throwing bombs at you. I had no idea that another bomb, a bigger bomb, was waiting for me. And what was that? I'm going to tell you. But in my next video. If you really like my story and if you can relate with it, please drop your comments and share your stories. Thank you.